Good morning, all of you Oklahomans out there. Today is going to be a history-making day in the state of Oklahoma, no matter what happens. But I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story first. My name is Christy Payne. I live in Collinsville, Oklahoma. I operate Big V Honeybee. 6 years ago, a CPS worker named Renee Rose Wiles Barber investigated my family. She systematically violated our civil rights of my children, and our Indian child welfare rights. When I asked for an Indian advocate from the Cherokee Nation, she refused to get me one. She made no attempt to contact Craig Bilby at the tribe at any time. The reason why I know this is because my attorney is the one that made the first contact with my case to get me an advocate. We were up against some very serious charges. My husband was accused of sexual assault. He was accused of raping my daughter for 6 years by a kid that I had never even met and never been to my house. And after hearing some of the stories from these other people, I'm wondering if the child even existed to begin with. We were prosecuted with some pretty aggressive tactics. I have been listening to the stories of some of these other people, and a lot of the tactics are very similar. CPS is systematically trying to improve their technique so they can take your children away with little or no evidence. My children never ever made a disclosure, and we had to go through a 2-day trial. And during that 2-day trial, the first thing that Renee Rose Wiles Barber did was perjure herself. She said to everybody in that courtroom that Craig Bilby said that I had a history of non-cooperation with the tribe. Now, let me ask you this. If none of the DHS workers that ever investigated any of my 20 or 25 cases ever got me a tribal advocate, how in the fucking hell could I have a history of non-cooperation with the tribe? Then she also said, because my daughter got my husband's handcuffs and put them on her arm, and her arm had a little bit of infection, that the handcuffs stayed on her arm long enough for the handcuffs to be embedded in her skin because her arm grew around them. This is false. A simple check of the medical records will say that. That is at least 2 lies that I can recall right off the bat. I remember after she made that comment that my child's attorney, Timothy Michael Johnson, became very angry and started yelling and screaming, and his exact words were, "It appears that you are talking out of both sides of your mouth, ma'am. Which is it?" And if you want to get a close-up of her, this is her right here. That is Renee Rose Wiles Barber. She deserves to go to jail for a minimum of 2 to 10 years for perjury, and any of the other people acting with her should go to jail as well. I believe that the tactics that were used in my case have been improved on and used in other people's cases. Mostly the case about this poor child, Clayton Woolley. Let's get a good look at him. His name is Clayton Woolley. That's him. That's the last picture his family has of him, because he was taken away from his family by people just like Renee Rose Wiles Barber when he was 6 years old. His grandparents have been cleared of any charges, and the state still won't give them back. The CPS needs to be abolished, as well as the Oklahoma Attorney General's office and the Oklahoma State Department of Education. Those budgets can be divided up amongst the tribes of the state of Oklahoma. The state of Oklahoma's got better police officers anyways. They're better trained and they're better paid, and they actually give a shit. They can do the investigation into CPS, and they can take over the child welfare department of the state and treat our kids with the love and the dignity and the respect that they deserve. because that's not what they're getting now. My children were terrorized by the DHS from the time they turned 5 to the time that they turned 18. Not one single allegation against my family was ever substantiated. So, I'm going to go to this nice peaceful rally and see if I can get Clayton to come home. But Renee Rose Wiles Barber deserves to go to jail for perjury and civil rights and ICWA violations, and any of the other actors that acted with her. And Renee, I hope you are watching. I hope you watch me all day long, because you know what? This that's going on today, sweetheart, guess what? It's not going to be sealed for your protection. The stuff that's happening today isn't going to be sealed. And I invite you to come out to the Capitol and have a talk. Maybe you had a good reason for doing all those things to my family. I'd like to hear it.